And now it's time! Introducing the champion, fighting out of the red corner. He's a filmmaker and a teacher, hailing from Sun Valley. Presenting the undisputed filmmaking champion of the world. With his upcoming film, Delco the movie, Chris Pierdomenico.
All right. Jawn Street Films, episode 18, I think. We're back. We have a huge episode, big guest. We have my former video teacher and now filmmaker, Mr. P, Chris Pierdomenico. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, Dom. How you doing today, man?
Doing great. It's been, like I was saying before we started, it's been a while since we chat.
It has been, yeah, man. It's been too long. Last time I saw you, you were making a film, and it was after you graduated. And since that time, we both got married, and it's just been, we had a pandemic. It's been a wild ride, but very good to be back. I'm really glad that you asked me to be on here. I had to be on something called Jawn Street Podcast,
absolutely,
to talk about Delco the movie. I mean, that is the place to be to talk about something like that.
So that is the exact reason we have you on. I want to talk about this. So you are writing, filming, directing this wonderful idea of a movie. It's called Delco the movie. I don't think you need to explain more. It's Delco.
Just speaks for itself, right?
It does. So it's Delco 2004. 3 teens attempt to shed their goody two-shoed nature for one night to become Delco mischief makers. It's a love-hate letter to Delco and evangelical Christianity through the perspective of a second-generation Mexican-American Sun Valley grad, a total dork who loves Kevin Smith and John Hughes. I'm sold instantly. I'm sold right away.
Well, I tell you what, my campaign manager approved all that, so that just shows that she was a great hire. I've had a really good crowdfunding manager. Her name's Leah Savoli, that has helped me put together this campaign. Like a lot of people, when they do a crowdfunding campaign, and certainly I'm guilty of it before, they kind of just throw something up and kind of hope people kind of throw money at it, but it takes a lot of planning. So Leah and I have been planning this since April, like really kind of putting together all of this stuff and how the weeks were going to go, and everything. And so she's been a huge, I mean, it would not be where it is. It would, we'd be at like a couple grand if I didn't have Leah, at this point. And we're like 57% funded at this point, which is really cool.
That's awesome. That's got to be so exciting. Right.
It is. It's scary. Like there's still part of me that's like petrified, but it seems like it's heading in a good direction. I wrote this movie 2 summers ago.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my next question is when did this idea pop into your head?
So it's so complicated. So originally, this was a movie I made when I was in high school. I made a feature movie. I don't know if I mentioned it in class.
No.
But I made a movie when I was in high school that it wasn't called Delco the movie. I'll even show you. I have the DVD box right here. It was called Christian. And so these are the cast members from the original movie. And I made a 70-minute version of it in high school in 2004 because I had seen Clerks by Kevin Smith, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I can pull that off. He used the camera in the convenience store he worked at. I'm in a school all day. I can do that. So over like 4 months, it's what I did. I spent every free minute I had doing that. People have asked like, oh, can I watch that today? The answer is no, because the writing is horrible. It's not bad to look at, but you have to kind of watch the movie on mute. So I've been trying to make like the real version of this movie. I should say the essential, what's the word? The essential version. There's another word I'm thinking of. I can't think of it. But I've wanted to do this film for about 20 years. I've had version? many. What is it?
The definitive version?
Thank you, definitive version. That was escaping my mind. No, you're good. So I have been trying to make the definitive version of this for 20 years. I've had outlines, like maybe 3 or 4 different versions of this since '04, where I've outlined. I haven't had a full script, but I've just outlined, okay, I want it to kind of go like this, and it's changed radically, and in all that time, like, I graduated high school, I graduated college, I started my full-time job I've been at for 10 years, I got married, and just finally 2 summers ago I said, all right, it's time to do this. Like, it's now or never. I need to write the damn script. Because that's the hardest thing. I think a lot of like indie filmmakers, I shouldn't say a lot, but a lot of folks that really want to do this stuff, it's just easier to talk about it. I know, like, in class, it was like pulling teeth trying to get you guys to write scripts for stuff. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
It took until I think it was senior year where I had to force myself to stay like 4 periods after I was supposed to be done with early release and write my senior project script. And that was only like a 15-minute film.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
I don't even know where that is. I have no idea where any footage of that is. I don't know where the DVDs I burnt onto it are. I don't know where it is. It's probably somewhere in the Oxford system, buried deep down.
It's probably, all those computers are gone, man.
They're gone forever then.
Yeah, I don't know. It may be somewhere. I did back out a bunch of stuff, so it may be there. But so I determined, and I do the same thing too. So I try and encourage you guys to, get used to writing, every day. So I told myself 2 summers ago, I'm like, okay, I have the summer. I'm a teacher, so I have that benefit of having some flexibility in the summer. I'm going to write 5 to 10 pages of this story that I knew where it began. I knew where it ended, but I didn't know how to get there.
Mm.
I'm going to write it. I'm going to write at least 5 to 10 pages every night. And I'm not going to go to bed until I write 5 to 10 pages, no matter how bad it is, no matter how horrible, cringy, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do that. And, I missed a couple days here and there, but the bottom line was, by the end of the summer, I had a completed rough draft of a screenplay. I think writers oftentimes will edit as they're writing, and that's something that I was certainly very guilty of, and that really kind of puts a halt to the creative process. It makes it so that you never really have a finished script. So I found I'm on draft 6 now of my movie, and I'll probably, I'll make changes up until the day we film, and we're going to be filming next month, hopefully. But it's so much easier when you have that rough draft. Like, it's so much easier to go back and look at it rather than like trying to come up with it. So that was really the hardest part. But I think setting a deadline for yourself, if you have a friend that also is screenwriting, you can kind of hold each other accountable. That's helpful. I've done that too. I've been part of a screenwriting group or 2, where it was like, okay, you got to write like 10 pages every week. That was and the person that didn't do it, they had to buy dinner for everybody. So whatever it takes, I've just always emphasized the writing is so important.
Now, did you have anybody work on like this draft with you, or was this just you? This is your brainchild.
This was just me. In the past, I've written stuff with my brother. So I've written like a handful of short films with him. And I would direct it, but this one was just me. And I like writing with my brother, but it's a different kind of, it's almost like meditation writing on your own. Like it's like an escape. I mean, it's fun to write with somebody else, but it's fun to write on your own. It's, I think there's pros and cons to both. So yeah, this is all from my brain.
Nice. So yeah, this is your baby, and I'm so excited.
It is, yeah.
I cannot wait. So when I brought this up to Zach, I was kind of explaining to him, hey, we're having you on. He's making a movie. We're doing this. I read him the tagline, and he was like, this is very Kevin Smith-like.
What gave it away?
Oh, you're actually asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. What gave it away? What? I mean, did you see? Was that before you saw who was in it?
Yeah, it was actually. I just pictured, while I was reading that tagline, all I pictured was like like just a black and white gas station in the center of Oxford.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
have.
that
Oh no, my bad.
no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, speaking of what you just said, knowing who's in it, you have probably it blew my mind when I saw that you somehow got Brian O'Halloran to join the cast. How did that happen?
Yeah. So I've known Brian. I mean, so you have to understand, like, my experience with Clerks was it came out in 1994. I was alive back then, but I never would have seen it, or if I had, my parents would have kept it away from me. But I saw it for the first time in like winter 2003. So that's my first time seeing Brian O'Halloran. That's when I'm realizing, oh, I can make movies. Like I had always wanted to tell stories, but I thought maybe like be a comic book artist or be like a novelist, something like that. But I'm like, oh, I could do something like this. So that's my first experience with Brian. But like in 2014, so almost like 10 years later, I met him at a convention. I had met several of the Clerks, the Clerks cast members over the years at some of the conventions. I got to interview some of them, like Scott Giaffo, who plays Julie's gum guy, and Marilyn Gigliotti, who plays Veronica. They've become, good friends since, and I probably talked to them the most. But Brian, I would kind of see on and off, at conventions, so we kind of got to know each other, and I've interviewed him a few times. We had a film festival at my church some years ago, like right before the pandemic, for a movie he was in. So he actually attended as a guest. So I arranged that. So it was kind of just like a lot of like short meetings I had with him where we kind of got to know each other. And then, earlier this year, I reached out to him and I said, hey, I'm writing a part for you, would you want to do this? And, he said, yes. So it was very, it was, kind of a friendship built up over like 9 years,
Nice.
which was very, very cool. And it still kind of blows my mind. I still kind of, if I could explain this to my high school self, that, oh yeah, the guy in the movie that you based your career on is going to be in your movie. That kind of stuff's kind of amazing. Seeing like Kevin Smith like my tweet talking about it, that was very, very cool. So yeah, I mean, Brian is a true professional. I don't know if you saw Clerks 3.
The newest one. No, I have not. I have not seen the newest
Okay.
one.
Yeah, he is amazing in that. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, that goes dark. And he really carries it. It's I'd say it's definitely the most emotional of the Clerks movies. It's definitely more of a drama than, say, like the first two. So it's an honor to work with him, and it was really cool to, when I wrote the character of Joel Powers, I did have him in my head the whole time. Like when you write characters, I tend to have in mind who I want to play them, but it was like, oh, that'd be really nice if it works. But I didn't know if it was going to work. I mean, he may have been busy. It may not have worked out schedule wise, but I'm really, really fortunate and really grateful that it did.
That's awesome. That's got to feel so surreal, right? It's like your whole world's coming full circle, and now like where you were like, I want to be able to do this. I want somebody like this to be in it. And then it's like, oh shit, it's actually happening. Like this is actually happening.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So this whole process, right, from writing to scouting locations to getting a cast to starting to do like screen read, like the table reads and stuff like that. What would you say is like your most challenging part that you've like had to face?
Well, right now it's definitely the fundraising.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a new experience, and it's going well, but it's like we're over halfway there, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a little bit. I definitely feel challenged. Like I feel like I'm on every day. Like I'm kind of constantly on social media doing this stuff, and it's kind of like a full-time job. And I know when we started, like Leah said, like, I had talked about maybe starting this campaign maybe like in March or April. I'm like, well, the sooner we get, the funds, the better. She's like, no, you're going to want to wait till the summertime when you're off, like this is like a full-time thing. So that's been challenging, but at the same time, like it's been a blast. Like I've just loved connecting with the community. This is the third podcast I've been on. I've had two other podcasts air. They were recorded last week, but they aired today. So this is like my third podcast today, which is really, really cool. And just kind of seeing the generosity of the community. I had a guy I went to high school with who's a friend. He's closer to my brother, but he's a friend that just randomly, like the first or second night, dumped $5,000 into it, which just completely blew my mind. And so we named him an executive producer, which was really, really cool. So, I'd say the fundraising, and then probably, I think just scheduling, and you probably know this, like just trying to figure out a time that works for every person, every location. Some locations are more flexible than others. Some folks have other gigs going on, like some of our actors are doing other films right now. Like they're going to come in to do our film. I'm flying out one of our actors from LA, Brian Dunkelman, who's playing one of the other fathers. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he used to host a little show called American Idol.
Oh, no. I recall you being connected with him for a while with your podcast, correct?
Yeah, so we have a podcast, but Brian Dunkelman was he was Ryan Seacrest's co-host on the first season of American Idol about 21 years ago. You guys probably weren't even you guys probably alive, but you weren't watching TV.
Hold on. First American Idol winner. Was that Kelly Clarkson?
Kelly Clarkson, yeah.
Come on.
If you just look up like Kelly Clarkson wins, like you'll see Dunkelman on the stage with Seacrest and Justin and Kelly, and everything. So
that's awesome.
So we're flying him in. We had to find out what worked for him. And so, I think scheduling stuff, but like it's when it all comes together, when it all starts, when you got all the plates spinning, they kind of start spinning on their own. Like, it's just a really, really cool mechanism to watch kind of all of this work together.
Oh yeah. Now, at any point, do you think you'll find yourself like as filming's going on and stuff like that, just kind of like taking a little step back and just while still like being hands-on and everything, but being like observing and being like, this is it. Like, this is so cool. Or do you think you'll be more in there, be like, we got to get this done, like stuff like that?
I feel like I'll probably be the latter, but I hope I do take a few moments and stop and, brace it all. Brian O'Halloran's there on our last day of principal photography. So I think that will also be our day with the most extras, which you will be there, Dom, because you very generously pledged $37. And I'm very grateful for that. And you'll see it's going to be crazy. I think that'll be the most surreal day, but it will also be, it'll be really busy. But I also have some really good ADs too. So that, I think also to make something like this work, have a really good AD.
Yeah, that'll be, I'm excited for that. I saw that tier list on there and I was like, oh, I have to donate. I have to pledge. I have to do it. I would beat myself up if I didn't, especially because I helped you with a short film when I was in school.
That's right. You did Friend Zoned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friend Zoned. That was a good time.
Yeah.
That was my first real, I guess you could say, set kind of experience.
Besides
the dumb little videos we made for like the intro, stuff like that for the school, where it's just us roaming around the school with a video camera. That was like the first time I really got to see like everything in motion.
And if I recall, and by the way, that's on YouTube. You can still watch that. But if I recall, you made a creative suggestion that we took. I think it was you. It was either you or Luke, but I think it was you, Dom. So when in Friend Zone, the two main characters have a fight and the guy is leaving. And so originally he's supposed to just kind of like walk out the door, but you said, what if you have him like have to fiddle with the door?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
I filmed it like 5 times where he just walked out and you were like, I don't know, like this doesn't look right. I said, what if you fumbled with the door because you were just getting into this argument? And you were
and then
you stopped production. You're like, that's brilliant.
I
I was
did.
like, oh, that was just a shot. Like,
but it was like it added like this realness to it, and it just, yeah, I just love how uncomfortable it is. Like, it was perfect. So I was so happy you were there to make that suggestion. And like, I know a lot of directors might be like, oh, I'm the head honcho, like it's my vision or no vision. And I think like you have to, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, if somebody can make the movie better, like I want to hear it. Like if somebody has an idea to make this scene better, let's hear it. Why not?
Oh yeah.
If we have time.
Oh, absolutely. It was a really cool experience, and I'm excited to be a part of this one.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I'm really fired up to see it. We also saw you have another former student in the movie as well.
Yeah, Ben Kalinowski. So you knew Ben, right?
Did.
Yeah. So the story with Ben. So he's playing a character named Mitch. Mitch was a character in my first movie.
Okay.
That was played by my friend Mitch. So some of the characters in the movie were just playing themselves, basically. And so Mitch is one of my closest friends. I've known him since, I guess, middle school. So a long time, long time. We really developed a strong friendship in high school. He's a couple years younger than me. And so when I met Ben, when I started working at Oxford, and I had Ben, in WOHS and in morning homeroom, when I met Ben, I remember thinking, you remind me of Mitch. Like, just something, not even like how he looks, but just his mannerisms, his sense of humor. I'm like, you really give me these Mitch vibes. And so this is like 2013, 2014. I file that away in my brain. And now years later, like, months ago, when we're casting this thing, like I brought the Mitch character back, but like the actual Mitch, he's my age now. So, he's going to make a cameo in the film, but we're going to get someone else to play the high school Mitch. And we tried out a couple people, and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. So I gave Ben a call. I said, hey, listen, I know, and he's into film, like he's more into the production, the screenwriting angle of it. I said, listen, I have a role I really think you'd be good for. Can you come try out? Like we're doing callbacks for the other cast. Can you come in and do this? And so we brought him in. He hit it out of the park, and I'm like, you're Mitch. He was the first person we brought on officially.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, this is cool, man. I'm really excited. I keep saying that, but I really am. This is going to be really, really cool. And I think what makes it cooler is like, it's Delco, right? There's really nothing that's been made about Delco in Delco. There was one, I think, right? Was there?
Well, there's
been something.
There's been a couple things in Delco. There was a show called Delco Proper, on Comedy Central. I don't think it was more than a season. And then there, of course, there's Mayor of Easttown, which is kind of gaining some popularity again. And I don't know if you know Mean Girls, which came out in 2004, incidentally, is based on Upper Darby High School, Tina Fey's experiences at Upper Darby High School. So there have been some things, but there hasn't been a Delco the movie. And it's funny, initially that wasn't the title of the movie, and I just kind of, the more I wrote it, I'm like, Delco's like a character in this, because it was always set in Delco. It was always kind of based back then. I'm like, let's embrace it. And I think since that time, it's the script's become even more Delcofied, and people are just rallying around it, which is really, really cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, Zach,
well, no, I didn't want to get in between like the whole, like the student reconnecting with the teacher thing.
You're good.
That was just very pure to watch.
That's why I do this, man. That's why I do this.
I was seeing a lot of nostalgia there. But I know you mentioned before that, I don't remember when you said the first time that you watched Clerks was, but I know you mentioned that your parents kind of tried to keep it away from you. And that kind of stuck with me because I had a similar experience with Clerks. So when did you first see Clerks again?
Oh, sure. I was it was 2003. I remember it was a snowstorm, and we had off
Okay.
of school. So I think I was probably in 10th, or I must have been in 11th grade. So it was like snowy enough that they closed school, but we could still like go to the video store. So I went to Blockbuster, and it's like, oh, I heard about this. Yeah, somebody had told me to check it out. And so I guess I was probably 16 or 17, and I checked it out. I'm just saying, like, when it actually came out, I was probably 8 or 9. So my parents wouldn't have let me, they didn't know about it, but I would imagine they wouldn't let me watch it back then.
Yeah, my parents were not familiar with Clerks at the time that I watched it, which was about 7 or 8 when I actually did watch it. So it was
Oh, okay.
yeah, back then I used to watch a lot of black and white like detective films and whatnot from like the 40s and 50s. Not that I had any idea at the time what they were about. I just thought it was cool, like how the actors' voices sounded back then, and like the fedoras and whatnot. And my parents knew that I liked watching black and white films, and so like they'd known that I'd watched like the Maltese Falcon and like, all the Humphrey Bogart's movies from back then. So then one day my friend loaned me Clerks. I think it was my friend Steven. He lived in a trailer park, but that's not important. And so they loaned me that. I said I got another black and white movie. My parents were like, all right, it's fine. Because movies back then were a lot more reserved. And it was
Yeah.
at the point in the movie where Dante's girlfriend comes out of the bathroom after the experience with the old man. It was at that point I must have been like 7 years old at the time. And remember my parents came into the room, they were like, what the fuck are you watching? And I just said, I want to be like Randall when I grow up.
That's amazing. So to be clear, they didn't see, that was the only part of the movie they saw, was because that's near the end of the movie. Like, did they see the earlier
Yeah.
parts?
It's like the moment where like it's a tame movie, and then the one scene where your mom walks in, it's like the sex scene. Like that whole
Yeah,
meme thing. So it was just
because
like that. That was the one scene they came in for.
yeah,
They were like, no more black and
yeah,
white movies for you. You're going back to watching Pokemon.
Pokemon.
And I
But
think they sent
hey,
me in the other
nothing
room
wrong
while
with
watching
that.
it. Yeah, so well, that's
Nothing
just
wrong with that. Gen 1 forever.
yeah. Just when you said that, I thought that was just a funny little connection.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah, it's misleading, right? Because it's like, oh, it's there weren't really any other black and white films during that time period. I mean, not many.
No.
So it would be understandable to think like, oh, it's probably fine.
Mm-hmm. Now, do
Mhm.
you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you have something like that in this movie, but it just made me think of: is there a scene in Delco the movie that you're most, you don't tell me what it is. I don't want to know anything, but just a yes or no. Is there a scene that you're most excited to see play out?
Yeah, I mean, more than one for sure.
Okay.
Like there's and part of that was when we did the table read. We did the table read with the cast, I think in April. So during my spring break, we did the table read in person, and just hearing some of the lines back and forth, and like, oh, this scene's gonna be funnier than I even thought it was going to be, which is very cool. There was also a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, I don't like how that sounded. I'm gonna, I can probably, take out some stuff. Like this is too much explaining. That's a common thing that happens.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the opposite side, is there a part where you're like, this is gonna hit, and then during the table read, you're like, okay, maybe not.
I'm sure there was. I have to look back at my notes because I took copious notes the entire time. But yeah, I mean, there not many spots, but there were certainly a couple things that I thought would get a laugh that didn't, and there were things that I didn't intend to be funny, but got a laugh. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That if something can be more subtly funny. But yeah, I still recommend, like, if you're gonna do a feature or even a short film, like do a table read, hear it out loud, because it's a totally different role. And don't read any of the parts yourself. Have everybody else, like, you should only be listening and taking notes. that really, it's game changing for the ultimate quality of the film.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know the short films and stuff we've done for school so far, like I would just read it to myself, or like I'd read it with Zach or Dean, and we'd think it's funny. I think hearing that, maybe take a step back and just let others like read it, and you just kind of hear how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. I'm gonna have to jot that down.
Yeah, you have to do that, and you can also do it on Zoom. Like it's, during the pandemic, we did table reads over Zoom. Like that's, it's better to do it in person, but for me, it was sometimes easier just to get people together that way and just kind of do it like this, and that also was very, very helpful.
Okay.
And they don't even have to be the people that are going to be in the film. Like I did 2 virtual table reads for this movie, like before I had anyone cast, and I brought in friends and like other actors I knew, people I'd worked with, like, hey, can you read, these like 3 characters for this script? And I recorded it. I took notes the entire time, and then after I cast it, after I knew who I was working with, we did it in person. So, you want to have, especially for like for a big project, you're going to want to have several table reads, at least one in person.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to do for sure.
Oh God, yeah.
I'd love to listen to Dean do a table read.
We did this film. This is the short film. Oh God, a couple months ago, and there was no table read. I don't even think they knew the script until like 2 days before. So most of it was
I didn't know the script until we were reading it while we were filming.
And most of it was improv, but it worked. I think that part just worked so much better. And I think that's easier to do when it's like a 10-minute something instead of like a big film.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that,
yeah,
have to definitely have real take.
Definitely helped with the improv though.
And I think improv can be good. I mean, improv can be great, but you don't want to rely on it too much. And example I'd like to use, and this is somebody I'd like to get on my podcast. So if I do, I hope he never sees this. But the 2016 Ghostbusters, right? I was kind of universally panned. I thought it was okay.
Favorite movie.
Oh, is it? Well, that makes
No.
sense.
It's not my least favorite ever.
Well, yeah, it's not my least favorite either. I think it's okay, but I think the issue I would say the biggest issue of that movie was the writing. I think that the cast was excellent. I think the cast is very, very funny, and I think they have great chemistry with each other. But almost all of the scenes feel like they're being ad-libbed, and they probably were. Probably most of the scenes were being ad-libbed, and I think what happens is, in my experience, when you're ad-libbing on set, sometimes it is really funny, but it might only be really, really funny because you're there and everybody's there. It's like an inside, you know what I mean? Like it's an inside joke at the time. Is that going to be funny to people that weren't there? Maybe not. I mean, sometimes maybe yes, but if your entire movie is, improvised, and things that seem really, really funny in a moment may not have a long shelf life after that. And so improv is great. Like I'm certainly going to have improvising on some scenes, but I'm also going to have, in those same scenes, I'm also going to have them do the regular line. So I have options, to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is definitely our most like thorough and thought out script that we've done. So I mean, there's going to be improv, but sprinkled in, but we have a good foundation, I think.
Oh yeah. And then we have this passion project, I guess you could say.
Is this the feature?
Pirate feature.
Yes, it is. So we were
the Western world.
We were playing video games and drinking one night, and we just decided, we're just talking. Oh, it'd be funny to make a movie, right? Oh, what are we going to make this movie on? So we came up with, and I ran this past. We did another interview with one of the film teachers that worked at the charter school, and we ran this idea past him. And so this is it's a pirate movie set in the 1600s.
Okay.
So it is a family owned general goods transport trying to make ends meet, running goods from England to the British colonies in New America. And they get trapped in a waging war between the Caribbean infidel pirates and the British Navy. So after taking substantial damage in battle, one of the British warships must retreat, and they come across this vessel. So they demand their injured be transported back to the homeland through these war-torn, pirate-infested waters. And I think we only have 4 pages written, but it's the deepest character developed, like 4 pages of a movie that I've ever written. And
that's awesome.
We have all of Hollywood casted as we were writing out these characters. we have about 15 producers that we just decided we're just gonna have these guys in it. Why not? Why not just have Bong Joon-ho be the director for this movie as well? So we have all this stuff written, and we're like, 1, how are we gonna pay everybody? And 2, we might just have to just blackmail Hollywood and just drop the script down and be like, this is either going to save the industry or this is going to spiral us somewhere we've never been.
Did you ever watch that Simpsons episode where Homer becomes like a
damn it, the Simpsons did it first again.
Yeah. The Homer becomes like a worker for Alec Baldwin and his wife.
No.
At the time, and this is like season 8 or 9. He like falls in he crashes into their house by accident, and he becomes friends with them, and he starts like kind of like getting groceries for them, and he leaves. Alec Baldwin comes out, and he's like, I found this script on my pillow. It's like, oh, that's where I left it. It's about a time traveling driver instructor who goes back in time for some reason, and his best friend is a pie. like Homer, this script's only 20 pages, and most of it is just pictures of the time machine.
Yeah, he's looking over the script. He's like, where's the prop gun?
But hey, if you guys are passionate about this, do what I did 2 summers ago, right? It doesn't have to be every night, but just say like, hey, every week we're gonna have at least like 5 or 10 pages done, whatever interval works for you, and just get it done. Get that first draft done. Like, you'll feel so good, you really will, and that'll motivate you, because I knew, like, as soon as I was done, I'm like, okay, like I can move on to the next step.
Yeah, you talk about like your inner circle thinking this is the best thing ever, and people outside of that circle being like, this fucking sucks. That's what this is so far. We think it's the bee's knees. You ask anyone who doesn't know us, objectively speaking, you might want a different profession.
But
so far, but I hear what you're saying.
If I could have done anything differently over the last 20 years, I would have practiced writing more. I would have. And so regardless of, where this goes, I think if you have like a vision for this, and I think you should finish it. I think, either it becomes something, you sell, or it just makes you more prepared for the next thing you write when you feel inspired. Like, maybe you have an even better idea after this, but you can say, oh yeah, I've completed writing a feature film.
Now, do you have other I know you have this one and this is your focus right now. I'm assuming you have to have ideas written down for other stuff, right? Constantly. I have on my iPhone, on my notes app, I have all sorts of things. Sometimes on a daily, not so much anymore because I'm focused on this film, but I'll think of an idea when I'm out and I'll jot it down. Like, oh, this would be like kind of like a fun idea for a scene. And even like I remember being at church years ago, and we had a guest speaker, and I was sitting in the back running the sound, and I remember thinking like what if this guy went like totally off the rails and started saying stuff that like you shouldn't say, and that became a big scene in the movie. It was just kind of like, oh, what if
what if that happened, and that didn't happen, but I was in a similar situation. So yeah, I do have other ideas. Some of them date back to around the same time I did the first one, where I'm like, okay, back then I had ideas for other features that eventually I would like to do. This is successful. So I kind of already know what the next one is I want to do.
Interesting.
But I can't say much more. I want to get through this one first.
Okay.
But I would love to do like a Delco verse of sorts, and have like other films kind of set in Delco, and not called Delco the movie, obviously, but like, what was that movie? Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, like, something, a Delco movie, like something like that.
Lou Turks, a Delco origin story.
You're too young to know what Lou Turks is.
Oh, come on, man. Uncle Lou's got world famous chicken tenders. It says it on the menu.
It's like the world's best cup of coffee from Elf.
Right.
So you got this film coming out. So when did you get started in this whole industry? Right? Like, when popped into your head where you're like, you know what, I want to become a filmmaker? Like, this is something I'm passionate for. This is something I want to dive into fully.
Well, the first time that thought crossed my mind, I mean, I after watching Clerks, I realized it was possible, but I don't think I was at the point where I'm like, I really want to do this. But I took a summer class at my high school, like kind of like one of those 4 or 5 day things. And I remember like being out on like Sun Valley's track, and my group and I were, it was like a TV video class, but it was in the summer for a week for like 4 hours a day. We're doing a music video, and I remember just kind of, I knew it. I'm like, I want to do this, like in some form. I want to do this. So, that continued. I took a TV video class my senior year, because this was right. I started late. I didn't take anything before senior year, and kind of just throughout that whole year, I'm like, yeah, I want to go in this direction. And that it was a mixture of, it was considering being a filmmaker versus being a teacher versus being a psychologist. I knew I wanted to do kind of something with those three things, but I knew that, like, well, filmmaking's, it's a gig type of career. So, is that financially stable? Is it something I can do on the side? Maybe teaching could be my full-time thing. And it was a lot of second guessing, but I never stopped making films. Like, even when I was in, doing some of my hardest classes in college, I was still making movies in college and after college and everything. And then I think it wasn't until I got to my high school job that I realized, oh, I can be both. I can do both. And that was a realization probably around the time we did Friend Zone, where I realized, like, oh, I can do both if I really try. And I'm totally happy with that, because I've been teaching at Oxford for 10 years now, and I don't really have any motivation to stop, because I get to see kids do amazing, cool stuff. I'm very proud of you. It's just awesome to see you pursuing this as your career, because you took my class.
Absolutely. That was your first year. Because my first year in the video production class, my teacher was Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Right before you came in, and then right when you came in, you showed us. Oh shit! What was the movie? And it was, oh god, Clerks? No, yeah, it was Clerks.
No, that wasn't Clerks.
It was Quiz Show.
Yes, yeah.
And we watched that movie about twice a year, and I think watching that and the way you were like breaking down scenes and explaining like how this shot was, and because you knew like all the intricacies of that movie, and I was like, you know what, like this sounds, and then like all the dumb little assignments you had us do, like Luke and I did the WOHS intro but we did it to the Walking Dead, and we did
yeah.
and I did the other intro for Sunday Night Football, but I did it with Richard out in the field where he was supposed to be a coach, and he was just coaching nobody.
Right, and he's like, he has like the headset, and he's got the
and he's throwing.
clipboard. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and I think it was around that time where I was like, you know what? I took this class just as like a BS, like one of those extra courses I just needed to do, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So I want to thank you for really opening my eyes to like this could be a career, and it doesn't feel like work. You know, it feels like work, but it doesn't. You know, it's more fun than it is actual work.
Happy to do it, man, and that really means a lot to hear that. And honestly, hearing stuff like this is why I think I'll never stop. As long as they'll have me, I will still be at that job. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to send you this script for this feature, and maybe if you have some free time, maybe you could we could have you on as a writer for some scenes.
I'll see what I can do. Talk to me after August. After August,
yeah.
I could,
let's get through this one first.
Yeah.
Let's get through this.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's good to talk to somebody who values the writing process as much as you do. Just generally because I think in the film industry right now, good writing is at such a creative bankruptcy. So
yeah,
just keep drilling in those your students' heads, just script writing, because that's something that I think most of us want to see better, more high quality scripts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not even just students. I think it's anyone that works in independent film. I think it can be very very easy to just get very excited about the process of making a film and not want to go back and do that second draft or third draft or fourth draft. And I've seen some movies that have looked amazing. I'm talking independent films that have looked really, really good. The person hired all the right camera people, all the right sound people, all the right lighting people, but the script sucked. Right. And that's what's the point? What's the point, at that point? And, I think, something like Clerks, even Kevin will say, it doesn't look visually great at all, but it was the script that's why that movie's so memorable.
Mm-hmm. And I like when Kevin Smith says, I think it was more along the lines of it doesn't have to be good. If you're super passionate about something, just do it. Because I think he said that about making Tusks, right? Where he was he was just I just wanted to make this movie so bad that we just did it. And I think it speaks to me because if how you were saying earlier, if you're just passionate, just fucking go for it. Just do it. If it's something you really want to do, just go for it.
Yeah, I think you feel like you have to do it, at a certain point. And I think he did with Tusk. And Tusk is batshit crazy. But man, you can feel his passion in that, right? So yeah, I think when you have something like that, I think there's always ways to make an idea better. And I think it's important to kind of think about, you don't want to get too bogged down in playing to the audience, but what's your end goal for this? Is this something that you want to, that you're happy just releasing on, YouTube? I mean, that's the beauty of the time we live in, is that anybody can release anything out there, for better or for worse. Or do you want to see it go somewhere else? Do you want to see it go on streaming? Anybody can put something on Amazon now. There's some great stuff on Amazon. There's some really bad stuff on Amazon, but you can get stuff on Amazon, if you want to. So I think keeping your end goal in mind, figure out what your goal is, but not letting that stifle your creativity. That's the balance you have to walk, I think, as an indie filmmaker.
Good to know. I love that. So just keep the dream alive. Don't give up.
Keep the dream alive, even if it's been 20 years.
Oh yeah. So the when you were saying like the writing, what I'm curious to know, what movie do you think would you say like is the best writing you've seen or heard? Like, what's one movie that stands out to you as just like elite writing?
Uh,
I have one, and I'm pretty sure Zach knows what it is. So I'm curious to know your thoughts.
well, I have one that I have one that I have felt for decades, and I have one that's a more recent one that I saw that I think was really, really good. So I'll tell you the most recent one was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Was have you seen that?
I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the writing in that, I thought that was the most creative movie I've seen in 10 years. I think that they did the multiverse better than Marvel did, or DC for that matter.
1000%.
Yeah, Zach's a big anti-Marvel guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you talk about good-looking movies with shitty scripts. Take your pick.
Yeah. But I'd say probably best written movie of all time, probably the original Back to the Future.
Ooh.
I think what I love about that film is just everything. They set up so much in like the first 20 minutes, like before he goes back in time, and it all pays off. It all comes full circle. It's beautiful character development. The pacing between the scenes is great. How they kind of manage the character stories of Marty's parents, and then the friendship between Marty and Doc. To me, it's a perfect movie. And it starts with the writing.
Yes, Robert Zemeckis, if you're watching this right now, please, no more Pinocchio, no more of that shit. Go back and watch your own movie. Go back and watch Back to the Future.
I love that you said it's a perfect movie because have you ever heard of the app Letterboxd or like the website Letterboxd?
Yeah.
So I got real big into that recently. So I've been
understatement.
It's a way understatement. I've been
I can't
rating,
even get away from his
I've been rating
Letterboxd.
out of 100 every single movie I've ever seen, and I've been going back from I started in the 2000s. I went all the way up. I think I'm currently in 2015 ish. But then I'm going to go through all the 90s and all the 80s. But I have out of 100, I have only 3, 6, 10 movies that I have categorized as perfect 100 out of 100 movies.
Interesting. So I assume that Back to the Future is one of them.
Back to the Future is one of them. I have the Toy Story, the first one.
Okay. Good pick.
I have Goodfellas.
Great pick.
Godfather Part 1. I have All the President's Men. I have the original Willy Wonka. Seven Samurai. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. No.
Interesting.
Return of the King. Return of the King, correct.
Return of the King. Okay.
King.
Better pick.
Empire Strikes Back. And Blade Runner 2049.
Okay. It's quite a list.
It is. And I have one film that, depending on the day, I'll put it in the hundreds or I'll put it at a 99. But this movie that I'm about to say is my all-time best written movie, which is The Social Network.
You didn't let me fucking guess, dude. You know what I was gonna guess? The Social Network. That would have been so much cooler.
Yeah.
You guys, I love this friendship right here. This is great.
Yeah, it's a give and take for sure. He just took a lot from me just then. That would have been such a cool moment. Just think of how that would have been.
Wow.
That would have just brought the chemistry of the podcast full circle. We would have taken off.
Maybe next time.
What's your best written? What movie do you think is the best written film you've ever seen?
Me?
Yeah, and let me guess. Prometheus.
No. I like Prometheus more than other people like Prometheus. Doesn't mean I think it's a perfect film. Ridley Scott's my favorite director. And it certainly is an Alien Covenant, but I like that movie too. Best written movie ever. I gave you the cheap answer. Citizen Kane. Or then I would just look like a cinephile douchebag.
That
But
was
that's
the
probably
first.
my answer. I mean, that's
It's a
probably
good
the best
pick.
written movie I've ever seen.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
It's a great written. It's a really well written movie. That was actually the first. I took video production in high school, but I also had a film class it was film as literature. So you just watched films and it was more focused on the analyzing of films rather than making films. And that was the first film we watched was Citizen Kane. So that definitely had an impact on me too.
Right.
Yeah, I also feel like that's like the answer that someone who wouldn't watch movies would just look up and be like, "Oh, Citizen Kane," because it's at the top of like every number one movie of all time list ever, for good reason.
Not mine.
But yeah, I mean, not yours, but I mean that's why this is a give and take.
What would you?
If
What
I
other movies?
were, if my second answer would be Come and See. I don't know if you've seen Come and See. The
I have not known.
yeah, yeah, it's 1985, World War II, and anti-war Russian movie. Um, Super dark, but I would recommend watching that if you haven't.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I don't remember the director's name. Yeah, Ilem Klimov. But I watched that about a year ago. It's not a horror movie, but it's definitely presented like a horror movie. It's the best it's the best anti-war movie that you could probably come across.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Zach's very good at
I'm
pulling
intrigued.
niche
Yeah,
items, niche movies I've never
very
seen.
dark.
He's very, very good at finding these random movies.
And Come and See has been making a bit of a resurgence lately.
At your house?
No, ever since the Russian-Ukrainian conflict.
Ah,
But yeah, I've been drilling it down Dean's throat. And Dean knows about Come and See. I don't think he's seen it yet though. But I'll go Citizen Kane and Come and See.
okay. So we have this running gag, which I think you would enjoy with Dean. Um, every year for his birthday or Christmas, we get him the copy of Mike Myers' The Cat in the Hat.
That's true.
And this is a friend of yours?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dean.
it's my
Dean
roommate.
Stock. Remember
Okay.
Dean? He was in the
Oh, Dean Stock. Yeah. I remember Dean. Yeah.
yeah, Dean.
Why would you do that to Dean? What did he do to you?
Well, he has like
Oh,
15.
we always we have a little back and forth. He's right up there. So we got to keep it down a little bit. It's past his bedtime.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have this running gag with him, and then we do one with Zach where we say Vacation 2015 is the best movie ever written.
Which, I mean, I'm not a big Ghostbusters 2015 fan, but I will put Ghostbusters 2015 is like Apocalypse Now compared to that shit show of a movie.
I went out.
Dom, yeah, Dom must have put on Vacation 2015 half a dozen times whenever it's on TV when I come over to his house. It's like he's trying to keep me out of his house.
But
So
you
now, were
like-
you a fan? Were you a fan of the original Vacation movies?
Oh yeah, I love the originals.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
I can understand.
It just hurts that Chevy Chase is even makes a cameo in that movie.
Yeah, he's really so wasted in that role. It's a bummer.
Everybody was wasted in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, movies that don't look good and have shitty scripts. Add Vacation 2015 to that. No
Yeah,
redeemable
yeah.
qualities whatsoever.
there is.
And
There's
Dom knows that, but he's not going to admit it because he just wants to drive me up a
the
wall.
one scene where Skylar Gisondo,
Skylar Gisondo with
the
a
greatest
plastic bag one more
actor,
fucking
the
time.
greatest actor of our generation, Skylar Gisondo, who looks like
Yeah.
he's reading off cue cards every time he's on screen. But the scene where he's looking at that girl out the window and his brother puts the bag over his head.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's in my book now the most overrated scene of all time. And I don't even think people in general would say it's a good scene.
It's great.
But I've been presented that scene more times than I care to admit by Dom and the man upstairs, not God. That would be Dean.
Yes. Well,
But
I
anyway,
don't
that's what we
hate that. I
That's
don't
what we
hate that
call
movie, but I can understand it. Yeah.
You don't hate that movie?
that's because you haven't been forced to watch it
Say that again.
like
Say that again. I'm gonna clip
That's true.
that. Say that again. I'm making it.
now. This is where
I
you hit that little leave button in the corner, please. I'm trying to do you a favor here.
Like that. We're gonna title that episode. What did you just say?
I don't hate Vacation 2015.
There we go.
Yeah. Now,
you've
to be
made- yeah,
fair,
you've made the great-
I've only seen it once, so I have not been through
That's fine.
the terror, the horror that Zach has been through. So
yeah. Once is too many times even. But you've made the grave mistake of letting Dom and I get too comfortable in here. So it's only a matter of time before this completely goes down a rabbit hole that you can't find your way out of. We just went down our first big rabbit hole, which is a very constant theme of this podcast.
So we always have these topics, right? And I'm assuming you guys do too when you have guests on or when you are just doing it with you and your co. You always have these topics. Did you ever derail it and never actually get through all your topics?
We've had it happen. So typically our setup with Dunkelvision is Brian leads it. Like he does most of the talking. I will chime in. I'll do the fan questions. I'll collect fan questions, but I write out all the questions ahead of time. Sometimes he'll go off on a tangent for like 10, 20 minutes. We've had the guests sometimes, like we won't get to any of the questions because, we just get off on this other topic. But I'd say for the most part, I'm serving as the co-host, but I'm mainly the producer. So I try to get him back on track.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, we don't have a moderator here.
No.
We've had topics for like we've had a week's worth of topics that we can stretch out to a month and a half. We do this routinely.
And I find
really,
like that.
Yeah, we're really good at milking content.
Our best content comes from these rabbit holes. We did an episode, was it 2 episodes ago, where we started.
Yeah, it was 2 episodes.
We started off perfect. We're hitting all these major topics, right? We're hitting the Warner Brothers layoffs. We're hitting the Titanic submarine thing, and then it just took an hour and 40 minutes of just one rabbit hole that we developed our own cinematic universe to, and that was the entire episode.
Yeah,
and then we just lose track of time.
Yeah,
well, that's the beauty of creativity.
This is the right format for that. This is the right format for tangents. This is a tangent friendly medium.
Oh yeah. And it's great. It's because it's just like you having a conversation with your buddies. You never know where it's gonna go. And it just goes off.
Yeah.
But then we find it's very hard to get back on track. And then when we realize that, we just lean into it even harder.
We'll find like we're going. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I'm finding out already, Zach.
Well, look, we don't want to keep you super long. We know you said it's getting past your bedtime, past 11. You got
it is, man. I'm old.
Oh, I know. It's weird. I find that when I turn 25, no, 23-ish, I just get tired. I prefer sleep over life.
Yeah, this is why you can't run past first base in our softball league anymore. You can't hustle down to second base.
I get too tired. I get on base. I'd either stay on first base and be safe or get thrown out trying to run to second.
No, you've never seen so many doubles turned into singles by one man in a single season in this guy.
Just take a little nap on the field.
I do.
Yeah.
No. Well, look, Mr. Pete, it's been an absolute honor. It's been a privilege. It's been our pleasure. We're so excited for Delco to come out. So I want you to pitch Delco like an elevator pitch. Give us a reason why we should go see it. Give one final push for it.
Sure. Delco the movie is for anyone that's ever questioned kind of everything they were taught growing up. And for anyone that has a complicated relationship with the place they grew up, the love-hate thing, there's an edginess to Delco, but there's also a warmth to it as well. There's nostalgia element to it. So this movie is really for anyone that definitely from Delco, but if you like John Hughes movies or you like Kevin Smith movies, you really want to go to delcothemovie.com and help us get it made.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome.
We'll definitely be there night one for sure.
There is one thing I wanted to mention before we go, and it's about Delco. Zach had an idea about Delco, and he was like, we're going to have to try to push this on Mr. P. How would you feel about a dance number from Zach?
A dance number?
Jesus, how drunk was I when I brought that up?
You were very sober.
I was sober?
This was last
The days are all just blending together.
Well, we have a party scene that somebody could be dancing at, like, like they're supposed to be drinking, and it's not going to be real, but they're supposed to be a little drunk there. So
I'm a method actor. I can handle real alcohol.
No, BYOB now. Just
BYOL.
BYOL, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. I'm really proud of you, man. It's really, really cool to see everything you've done. And again, this is exactly why I do this. Like you're going to do some amazing things, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what you accomplish and what you create.
Thank you. That means a lot, especially coming from the guy who opened my eyes to this whole world of filmmaking. So again, I'm going to say the pleasure is all mine. So thank you for being you. Keep kicking ass, keep getting this thing made, and I cannot wait to see the final product.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Zach.
No problem. Nice talking to you. Oh wait, end the recording real quick. And now it's time! Introducing the champion! Fighting out of the red corner! He is a filmmaker and a teacher hailing from Sun Valley. Presenting the undisputed filmmaking champion of the world! With his upcoming film, Delco the Movie. Chris Pierdomenico!
All right, try it not so close to the mic.
You're shitting me. You could have told me that fucking 30 seconds ago.
Couldn't stop you.
Not so close to the mic.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read the first line. Tell me how it sounds from here.
Okay.
Damn, I just poured my fucking heart into that.
No, dude, it sounded good, but then it kind of cut out because you were kind of going like this.
All right. And now it's time.
That's good.
Still recording?
Yeah, take two.
Okay.